making some more stars today. I've got a blue mix here with a range of various tones of blue, some lapis, some light blue, some aqua, and then in addition we add a little bit of our multicolor mix on top for a sprinkle of some random interesting colors in that. I'm going to go get some glass out of the furnace and we'll start on our first star. Adding a little bit of heat to the end of the pipes because if you don't get the pipe hot, the glass won't stick to it. So we always preheat the pipes. Usually they're warm enough coming off the pipe warmer, but I didn't have the right size up there, so I'm going to get it hot here in our glory. You go into the furnace to wine glass on the end, you can only pick up so much at once. So I need to let this cool down so I can go back in and get a little more glass on top to have enough to fill our star mold. Melting the color on the bottom, where you get movement back and forth, so you can stretch out the legs, make them a little bit longer. A little bit more heat, a little bit more length. Shaping up the center to make sure that the star is kind of symmetrical. They're never perfect, but we want to get a little closer if we can. Get it hot enough that I can cut it off with a pair of shears and we'll drop it onto our plate. Just realizing I forgot to set my torch to the right intensity, so we'll see how quickly we can get that set up. A little more propane, a little more oxygen. There we go. Careful not to get this too hot, because this torch is around 3,000 degrees, and that can actually cause the glass to bubble and boil. We don't want that texture on the surface, so we just want to kind of keep that flame moving gently around that cut mark to smooth it out. And then everything we make in the studio has to slowly cool down overnight. We're going to go put that into our oven. There. Pretty beautiful star. In the box it goes. Recycling because I can use the leftover glass from the last star that I kind of cut off the end, and we can turn that into the center of the next star. So we just keep the same pipe going. Couple more random colored dots here. Hot glass goes in. And let it drip. And squish. Defining our points first with a little squeeze. Starting to elongate those legs. I'm going to give this one a one shot. And now that center's a little messy. We're going to make it a little more symmetrical by nudging it when I come back. color in our star tray. Random rainbow colored speckles. Glass on our pipe. So we've done 3 flat stars with that color combo. Now we're going to put some hooks on one of the ends so it can hang. So I'm going to set up for that, and then we'll get the next one started. Let's see, where can I be to make that work? Move you over here. Yeah, I think this is about right. pipes because we're going to need to gather up a little tiny hook like you make for an ornament. So those will be ready when we need them. They'll be nice and warm up here in the pipe warmer. Get some more glassware started. Same as the flat ones, we first have to make the star, pulling out the points, making sure the center is even-ish. Sometimes that's 1 week, sometimes it's 2. We'll see if we can get it done in one shot here. Always a nice goal, but we don't always hold fast to that one. That's looking pretty good. Slide out there. Yeah, that's a perfect star. One shot. Alright, so now I'm going to get that hot and cut it off. Put a little hook on it. You don't want to flip it over if it's too hot in the center, because then it'll stick to our tongs or our pad. It'll be almost cold enough that it's hard. Bring over a little blob of glass, drip it on the end. just going to make sure there's no sharp edges where we cut that off. So we just take our torch here. A little bit more of a gentle torch this one. Just enough to smooth it over a little bit. And then we get that in the box. Boost up our color a little bit. More of our pretty rainbow sprinkles. Patent pending, trademark, all that applies. It's actually just the leftover stuff that's on the table and we scoop it all together, so no secrets there. I don't even know if you can hear me all that well with all the shop noise in here, but if you can, shoot me a message in the chat and feel free to ask a question. I believe this is the third stream I've done, so I'm still working on my setup, and eventually we'll get a dedicated mic, but for now, we're just doing it with the phone. Defining our tips. Thanks for the follow, by the way. You're the first one. Gotta start somewhere, right? Pretty decent start to our star. I'm going to center up the core a little more when I sit down and elongate those legs. Oh, good. Yeah, there's so much noise in here. Like, the burner inside this furnace called the Glory is just, it roars like a lion all the time. And we also have fans in the shop. Yeah, the starfish mold is more of a jig than a mold because it doesn't fully make the star. It just separates the glass into rough fifths, and that was welded a long time ago by someone who probably needed to have a little more experience welding before they could make some straight-ish angles. But also, dividing something into even fifths is kind of tricky. And frankly, it gives them a little more of a handmade charm when some legs are a little thicker than others or longer than others. So I don't mind the inherent unevenness. And you know the word jig, so do you do some sort of craft, or are you also a glass artist of some type? Hot star, we're going to cut that off. Well, as a flame worker, you'll be familiar with this little guy. A very small little oxypropane torch. I do have a slightly bigger, I believe it's a major? I don't know. You would probably know better than I will. I'll see if I can track it down and show you. But yeah, this is really the only thing I use this hot torch for is finishing pieces generally. We do a little bit of hot sculpting in here too, but oftentimes we'll just rely on the map gas for that and not even bother breaking this out. But it finishes up the stars so nicely and so quickly that we fire it up for that. Alright, so when I'm picking a leg for the hook to go on, I usually just try to find the shortest leg, which is in this case the one that's up. So as I lay that onto my tongs over here, we just make sure that that is pointing out into the breeze here. That's the target to land a hot blob of glass. And unfortunately, the way this is framed, you can't see the furnace. So I'm going to go get a gather over here. That tip is not as big as it looks. It's probably about like finger width tops. I do have some smaller heads for it available. I need to get better hot popping cups. I have a little needle point head that we use for hot popping. But I gotta practice that a little more because when I tried last time, I got very uneven results. Goes. Yeah, so here's kind of a standard Nortel, major minor, I believe is what those are called, and then here's the tip on my little national. So it's not that big, it's kind of in between the two. Gets the job done. I don't have that national hooked up because right now I only have an oxygen concentrator in the shop. I don't have tanks or a compressor, so I can only do a very little bit of oxygen with my propane, so small torch heads are the way to go. Looking to upgrade that in the future. Actually, I'm looking to learn more about borosilicate in the future. It's not my wheelhouse. I've only ever spent maybe, I don't know, 45 minutes on a torch with boro, so I gotta learn more about that. The door on the glory. So, first of all, it gives us any number of options of sizes from almost closed to full open. It's hard to make out on the camera from there, but there's also a little drain right here. You can see a little blob of glass looking at it, I think. Yeah, it's just barely. So, it's set up so that the rear door is straddling. You see this is open down here? It's straddling the sill, and that sill has a cutout. So as glass falls off or pops or dips from the glory, it can flow out and down behind the front door, and that front door holds in the heat because it's a full semicircle there. Works really well. I really love that size glory, and I love that door configuration. Very versatile. Most hot shops have a bigger glory. That one's only 10 inches max. It might look bigger, but it's not too big. But a 10-inch sphere is pretty sizable. And if you open up a 10-inch sphere into a bowl or flopped out vase, you can often get something that's almost 20 inches wide out of that 10-inch glory. Now, of course, that's got to be the last move you make, but you can squeak it out of there if you want. I do have a larger glory that's 20 inches over across the shop, but we only use that like once or twice a month tops. I'm in Florida, so it is hot as hell here, and I want to keep my equipment as small as possible to keep it as cool as I can in here. Funny that you joined first and I'm making stars and you are named Star. And I'm also, after these stars, gonna make some globes. So that's just kind of freaky. Fix up our points. The other order I'm working on right now is for 450 6-inch balls, blown floats, like fishermen's floats, or a local place that does a treasure hunt on the beach for them. And so stars and globes, that's what I've been making. Yeah, that floppy bowl, the floppy base trick is a good old furnace work standard. I don't imagine y'all get to flop out too much on a forge. I guess you can kind of use that sometimes, or just make something wider with centrifugal force, but it's a little bit of a different beast when you've got something, you know, it's 10 inches wide versus 4 inches wide. Although I'll forever be jealous of all the detail that y'all can get in your color patterns and in your little sculpted details. So for sure, both skill sets have their strengths and their weaknesses and their crossovers. Wonderful to have options, that's for sure. One more star with a hook on it after this one, and then I'm going to switch up to those globes. And for those globes, we're going to be doing them out of partially recycled glass. Eventually I'd like to have like a multicam set up here that is either auto switching or maybe even viewer switched through Twitch chat commands or something. But yeah, I gotta get a mic, an audio mixer, maybe pipe in some music. I don't like working in the silence like this, but I also don't want to get copyright struck. So that's a trick. Although I've heard if you're just playing music on a live stream, you don't, save it, it's not that big of a deal, but I need to look into that more, because I'd love to have a little bit of background, something going. Refreshing goblet of refreshment. This one has some reducing colors, so I'm sure you're aware of that trick, just using a oxygen deprived flame to get some metallic shine out of the colors. I've got a foot wrap, a lip wrap, mix of colors on there, some reducing, some not. I like making goblets because it's a whole bunch of teamwork and people have to be kind of on the beat. And, you know, they don't always go well, as there are no guarantees, but when they turn out nice like that, it's a great feeling. Need to fill me in on that terminology. Retti tech, I would think you're talking about retticelo or something similar, but that texture in that case was just from a pineapple mold. Stream any of your torch work? Center up our core here a little bit. These legs are too short. I'm going to make those a little bit longer so we get some more heat. Yeah, it can mimic retticelo a little bit, and you can also create a repetitive bubble pattern, kind of like you can with retticelo if you gather over it. But like to get those crisp lines that you do with the retticelo cane piece, pineapple mold doesn't even come close. But the texture is beautiful. The mold can be problematic, of course, because you can actually get stuck in it because it's got spikes. But outside of that, it's one of the easiest hacks to making pretty ornaments or goblets or little blown whatevers, stemless wine glasses. Can't go wrong with the pineapple mold. Always pretty. Alright, should have enough heat to still cut this off. I might regret trying, because if my diamond shears hit cold glass here, we are in trouble. Now we're good. Alright, while I'm thinking about it, set these shards, tray of pretty shards in the annealer to preheat them. And those are just various broken cups, bowls, ornaments, whatever, either because they were seconds or something happened and they didn't make it through the process. But there's still good color and good material on them, so we're going to turn those into some of our floats. I streamed a little bit a few days ago. I think it was the first actually, and Twitch was showing that I had one viewer, but I think they always just show that you have one viewer. So it's nice to actually have a viewer that's interacting. That's much more fun. Yeah, I get one to keep some of that a little private. Shit, but I've been doing this for 25 years, and I just now thought, you know what? Maybe we'll start showing more people what's going on in here. I'm kind of kicking myself because I could have done this 10 years ago when Twitch was first starting. Well, back then they had Justin TV. Could have done some YouTube live stuff. But there's a lot going on. And there's no time like the present, so here we go. My wife is Canadian. She's from Montreal, and we actually met at a glass artist conference in Pittsburgh in 2006-07. So yeah, had to deal with the immigration process, all that, and yeah, I feel you on the cost of things. Things are getting more expensive. Everything, everywhere. That's fun. All right, we're done with our star. So, I'm going to change it up to blowing now. See those colors? Yeah, we can see those colors. Perfect. Got lucky with that framing. Don't even need to move anything. Yeah, she doesn't get to work as often with hot glass as I do. She focused a little bit more on kiln work and casting. And it's I mean, of course there's a lot of artists that make great work and are successful doing kiln work and casting, but it's just a little bit harder to, you know, make the donuts and commercialize that stuff. And a lot of what we do in this studio is having people come in for the make your own workshops and classes and things like that. So we're going to get some more stuff like that going. That's one of the reasons I'd like to do some more boro, so I can offer boro classes. People are always interested in that. But just haven't done that yet. All set there. Okay. Going into a mix of random colors here, just to set up a base of colored glass. This is going to kind of be the background canvas for all those shards. Now those shards haven't been in there that long, so as I pull some out, they might crack and pop on the way over to the glory here, or they might even crack at the glory from thermal shock. I'm not too worried about that. They're recycled shards. I can always pick them up off the floor and try again. Shards, there goes one. Shards on our gather, melting those in. Whenever I do this, I see how kind of that looks with just shards around a hot mass. And I'm like, well, maybe I should do like a sculpture like that. Something. Of course, clean up some of the sharp edges. Encasing opals. Okay. Yeah, we try to focus on recycling as much as we can in the studio. Almost everything, at least it doesn't have some sort of grit or stone in it. You know, I don't care as much about bubbles as some glass artists do. There are times, there's times and places for, you know, making sure there's no bubbles in your work and that everything's like completely perfect. And then there's other things like, okay, this is just a wine glass. Is it okay if it has a bubble in it? I think so. So there are different standards for different reasons, and I'm very flexible with that type of thing. And especially when you're melting these shards in, you are going to get bubbles because you've got a lot of different layers of glass you're melting in at different rates and folding over each other, trapping pockets of air. Sometimes just bending themselves in half and making a little taco of air. That was crazy. I don't normally use that many shards. This is going to be enough glass for the whole thing. Sometimes I have to gather over these shards to get enough volume. But this one's going to melt solid to be more than enough for a 6-inch sphere. And it takes a while to melt these shards in, so I'm just going to park it in the glory here to let those things melt in. I wish this thing can kind of resolve that a little bit. You're able to see some of that, and kind of not really. But over time, of course, those shards are just kind of folding back and melting down and becoming kind of one with the blob. Then we'll smooth it out by rolling it across our marver. And normally I work on a much bigger marver, but I got a little mini marver set right up in front of your camera there. Oh yeah, bubble twists are amazing. If you've never seen them, look up bubble twisted stem goblets. Air twist stem. They were being done in like Roman times and in colonial America. Air twist stems are so pretty and it's such a fun technique to do. I've only made 2 or 3 of them in my time because they're kind of a pain in the ass, but you know, if you get good at them, it's just another technique in your bag of tricks. The hard part with glass blowing is just being able to sell like stemware. It's so expensive to make it, and then to sell it, you got to set a pretty high price on it, and most people don't have that kind of cash laying around, so you can only make so much stemware that you can expect to sell in a year, unless you're a few select people that focus on that and really drive that market. Alright, so now you can see we've got different swirls of our color, some more dense, some less dense. I'm going to rake that. Where's my rake? Rake. I lost it. Oh, there it is. On my marker. So this rake is just a file, just a regular old-fashioned hardened triangle file. I bent the hook by torching it and hitting it with a hammer, and we'll use that to drag that pattern back. Before I do that, I'm going to add just a touch of grit to the surface, and then we'll do an overall color twist so that as that rake moves through the glass, it's taking that twist and kind of feathering it up. I'm sure you've seen this look. Y'all must rake and feather things all the time because it is so pretty. So we're just going to do 1/2. Let's see, we'll do that in this color mix here. One little stripe of frit going down that side. We'll get that hot. We'll do an overall twist so we can spiral. Whatever Twitch thinks that word means, it's censored it. That's funny. I'm doing a poor man's wrap and rake. That's exactly right. We also will do wraps and then rake them. Since I don't have an assistant in here and I don't really feel like running around to get myself a wrap, just that little half coat of frit as I twist it essentially becomes a wrap, and then we're gonna rake it. All right, I've got my twist started by just twisting up on the mini marver over there. We're gonna grab our tip and let that continue to wind around. I don't know which way. Yeah, it might be up here. Now, one of the things that's working against me here is all those shards have different amounts of color and different amounts of clear on them. So as this thing blows out, it's very inconsistent. So I'm going to be very careful when we're actually blowing this out to watch for relative amounts of movement. And if I see one part moving too much, I stop, I wait for that part to cool down because it's thinner, and then as it cools down, I can blow out the thicker parts to kind of match. Now that never works 100%, but it usually works between 50 to 80% to get the thinness and the thickness more even. It's never going to be perfect, but it's going to be better than if I just try to blow right off the rip. And because sometimes with especially unevenness is this profound, you can get holes blown straight through the surface. I don't know if you ever blown a hole accidentally out of the glass. I'm sure you pop holes all the time with air. But yeah, having it just do it for you is not fun. Alright, fairly pleased with that. And then I'm just going to give this a lazy little twist. Not much of one, just a little twist up top to bring those three rake points together. Bubble trash, yeah. So opacity in the color filters you blow out. That can depend. White, for example, is a stiffer color in furnace work, and just physically, it's reflecting more of the heat and light energy from the furnace and the glory, so it just gets hot slower. So it behaves colder whether it's as hot or not. So if you're trying to make something like a black and white twist and keep things even, your best bet is to overheat everything and then use a little cold air or marver to put a skin on it, and then hope that skin can kind of keep everything together as you blow it out. But again, it's never to be 100%. That shape, we're just going to round it out with a little bit of paper here. Trapping air pressure in the pipe to thumb our bubble. Wait for that air pressure to work its way into that mass of glass and start our bubble. There it goes. Hard to see, we got a little bit of air in there. And then my paper burnt a little bit of ash on the tip, so I'm just going to take a little very high-tech broom and brush that off. If you don't already have a broom at your bench, get yourself a broom. Degrees of separation from Lino, probably not that many. I started learning glass in 1999, and at that time he was many years into teaching a lot of American artists and other instructors. And I know my instructor who was at school when I was there studied at some of the craft schools that he taught out. Now I don't know for sure that he taught her directly, but I know taught many of the people that she was kind of in the same circle with, so I never asked, but I should go find out. All right, I'm going to hook up a blow hose so I can add air and inflate and use hand tools at the same time. And And then I get to cheat. So to guarantee we get a 6-inch sphere every time, sorry about the camera wiggling, I have a little hemisphere here that we can blow into. So yeah, and she was my main initial teacher, but I've had many instructors and people I worked with over the years. So probably just one or two. I have met Lino at a conference, but I did not get to take the class with him yet. I think he's officially retired now, but I still see him doing stuff, so I don't know. Beautiful work though, he does some amazing things. Cooling the tips are just adding air. Watching for evenness, slowing down. That's fun. We got bubbles and swirls and all sorts of stuff. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I suspect that some of the colors in this, both in the shards and in my random frit mixes down here, are reducing. So I'm going to pop a reduction flame in the glory and see if I can get some shine on this. I might regret that. This could turn brown. We'll see. Choking off the air. Yeah, basically a witch's ball, yeah. And I've done some 6-inch witch's ball with the stringers, they're fun too. I don't see that that changed much, but I also didn't hurt it. So I think we're gonna call it right there. Alright, and then to finish these off, we get a hot blob of glass and drip it on top. I got a pair of diamonds that I only use for this. So they are sharper than a razor. I'm never cutting cold glass with them at all. Torch, get rid of the skin, and then a stamp to mark it for that treasure hunt. And let that cool down there. You'll recognize my marble mold. It's a big one. Back of that to make sure we're flat. Into the box it goes. I don't think I've heard that name before. I'll have to look him up. Furnace work, I'm guessing. Found some shards. Same oil as the last one. Get a gather, go into my color, and I think this will be the last piece I make for the day. Let's see, it's 4:10. We might get 2 more. We'll see. Some of this frit in this mix was swept up off the floor. So if you see little smoke wisps rising out of here, you know, probably just little twigs and leaves and whatever else. Oh, Millefiori, yeah. Well, I'll have to look them up. I would love to get into some more cane work and marine work. Same problems we were talking about before with the stemware. Like, it's just hard to make that stuff at a price that people can afford. And if you're going high end with it, then you've got to build yourself the customer base to the market. And it's not possible. People have done it. It just takes a whack ton of work and a whole lot of time with like no customers. You just got to build your body of work and then wait until people find you. And that's a hard treadmill to walk on. Is that like a blown cylinder that he cut open to look like a scroll, or I gotta see that. I'm not even understanding how to go about that. I would think that'd be more of a, oh, is it a flat glass thing? Did he do it in flat glass with marine? He made little marine letters or something? Dedication right there. Lots of cane pulling. Shake that up on the marker and get our bubble started. This one actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into the optic mode with this one. That little twist. That should give us that quasi-optic twist effect as it blows out. I'm not going for the texture so much as I'm going for the kind of color and surface evening. I want to try to blend those shards a little more together so as they blow out they behave a little bit better. back end twisted. I should twist the tip. I was seeing some contamination on that tip that I got from the opals mold, so we're just going to do a little surgery and cut that tip off. No point in going through all these motions if I'm going to have a stone in it.
Well, I don't know exactly when you choose to do cut and flips. I guess it would be that, yeah, so you're needing to build up clear on the outside by melting it on whatever far end you have available. So yeah, we don't need to do that because we can just submerge or gather. But we do, of course, punty up the things to open up vessels, and we'll also do switch axis pieces where we're purposely grabbing the vessel from a 90 or a 125 or a 180, whatever angle, to get a different effect in the pattern after we switch and blow it back out. So probably not always for the same reason, but we do for different reasons a similar technique. Good. We got a smooth surface, but the core is kind of a little off center, so the best way to fix that is just to grab it with the paper and turn fast and let that rotation even things out. Heat and speed. This is when we get heat and speed.
S bend in that whole thing. Alright, fairly pleased with that. Trapping air pressure to start our bubble. And we wait for that air pressure. Move into that mass of glass. Yeah, switch axis with flamework is easy. Switch axis with furnace work is a pain in the ass. It's funny the things that we find easy that y'all don't, and the things that you find easy that we don't. And you'd think that it'd be closer in process than that, but it really isn't. They're quite different bodies of techniques. They just borrow heavily from each other. I've always loved that about it. Alright, we got our blow hose. Now the trick here is getting the back end of the bubble hot near the pipe and the moil so that it can blow out as much as the tip does. So of course the tip wants to be hotter because it's further in the glory all the time. So if you don't counter that natural tendency for the tip to be hotter, then it blows out thin or pops or washes out the color because it's too thin. So when I sit down, I'll pop a little cold air on there. We'll start to blow gently, and then we'll get our block on the outside to shake it up. A little bit of air. Slow inflation, blowing lightly. Watching for the right moment to blow hard. our shears go. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, 25 years of experience, I hope I'd have some control, but it was hard earned, that's for sure. And even still, sometimes things go south on me, and that's just what keeps it interesting. We're always learning something. Frankly, that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to stream, is so that we can, you know, share experiences and show things that we've learned over the years. It's fun, maybe a little cloudy, hard to tell until these things are fully cool. Sometimes those colors pop more. Speaking of pop, that slid out of my tongs. Fortunately, it landed in the tray of shards there, so it had a little cushion. It didn't blow up yet, at least. See, when you say I have good control, I mess up. So that's fine. That just proves that no one's perfect. All right, let's see. You know what? I'm going to do one more. We have just enough color here. I'm going to mix that scoop into that one. And we will call it a day. Goblet of refreshment. Censoring that. So I don't know if you see it on your end, but I see asterisk art. So whatever the word is before art, it censored that. So I don't know if you want to put some spaces in there, or yeah. I don't know why it's not. Is it because it's a link or something? I might also have to check my moderation settings. I can probably knock that off of there, but... Ah, gotcha. Yeah, that's not even a bad word. What are they thinking? Alright, before I do this, I need to move that ball out of my shards so I don't hit that one. No problem. There's so little left in that scoop. I'm just going to add a little bit of heat to this and soak the rest of that up. Yeah, it's always fun to talk shop. As much as I like interacting with, you know, regular people, it's much better when, you know, it's not the same questions over and over again, like how hot is it and why is it orange and all that stuff. And I will always answer those questions with patience and excitement even, because you know, sometimes it's the first time people are seeing it, so I want to keep them enthused, just like I was when I first saw it. But you know, you already know that stuff. So yeah, how'd you get color in there? Exactly. Is that a real bumblebee in that paperweight? Yeah, that type of stuff. We actually had a local market here, and there was a seller trying to pass off Chinese jellyfish paperweights as resin-encrusted lab, humanely treated jellyfish, and like they were real. I'm like, what are you doing? That's so stupid. First of all, they were beautiful. Like, if it's beautiful, just say it's a really awesome paperweight and sell it like that. I don't know why they thought they needed to make up a story about humanely treated lab jellyfish that were like used for, you know, chemical testing or something, but humanely is so silly. I told the market organizer what they were doing, and they got kicked out. So there you go. Like, I'm never gonna make a jellyfish that pretty in a paperweight. The ones I've made are kind of blobby-looking, chunky little guys. I don't really care to perfect that. Maybe I could, but they were really, really nice. It's like, okay, if you've got nice enough work that you're selling at a decent price, just be honest about what it is. Maybe they tried that and they didn't find they were selling as well as they lied about it. I don't know. I couldn't make any sense of it at all. But it certainly wasn't resin. They certainly weren't real jellyfish. To their credit, though, they almost did look photoreal. Like, I had to give them a second look. I'm like, wait, are they telling the truth? Am I the idiot? Nope, they were glass. Yeah, probably. I don't know for sure, but I can't think of any actual glass artist that would make something that good and then lie about it. So I have to think that they didn't have any skin in the game. Because, I mean, imagine me going around and saying, yeah, I have this bubble machine that makes these glass bubbles, and then we put this cap on them, and they're shiny, but I don't do anything. Like, it's not my skill. Like, that would be so stupid. Like, what? I don't even know why you would lie about that. But, yeah. It was ridiculous. That's great. I got all the color out of the scoop. I got all the shards out of the tray. Getting it all done. Use all that glass. You know what I'm going to do? Yeah, I got some white ones over there. I'm going to put a little white stripe on this and then do another feather. Actually, you know what? Just because I feel stupid, and you're watching, I'll do something stupid. I'm going to bring myself a white wrap. First, we're going to go into our object mold, do a little texture on the surface. We don't sell on Etsy. We do have an online store. We don't put a lot on there. Most of our business, as I was saying earlier, is through like workshops and people come in to make their glass, which is kind of nice because they don't need to worry about shipping anything. They come in, they have a great experience, they make a thing, they pick their color, they know exactly what their color is going to be, they come back and pick it up. It's quite nice in terms of like a commercial transaction that way.
it's also nice in terms of just like a making motivation for me, because I'm not in here just like making things by myself for, you know, shipping. I have somebody here who I'm interacting with. We're having a good time. We're talking about the process. I'm meeting new people, and it kind of keeps some of the monotony. I'm sure you know. It can get a little bit repetitive, and being patient with the process is not always easy. But all right, let's see. I need my dead man. 1 second. White. That's gonna lock your view. So our website, if you want to check it out, is burnt glass, BURNT, like burnt toast, burntglass.com. We do have a couple things on there: snowmen, pumpkins, ornaments, your standard production stuff for a small studio. But most of our work that we make that isn't glass is a custom order, so we don't do a whole lot of online sales, or I mean, we do some wholesale work. That's what these are. These floats and these stars are going to different places, yeah, so we're doing wholesale stuff, which is nice, because then I don't have to worry about, you know, interacting with every single financial transaction for every single one of these. We can do a bulk thing. Sticks. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was really lucky early on. I had a guy come in to do a little workshop. He's like, man, it looks so cool in here. Like, can I come do a video? I'm a videographer. I'm like, sure. I was actually gonna, you know, hire someone to do a video reel. So we did a little trade. And when he came in, I turned out the lights. He didn't see it with the lights off. He's like, oh my god, this is so beautiful. So we just played around for like 2 hours getting different clips of close-ups and furnaces and flames lighting, and he had a blast, and I had fun showing him what I could. And he made a little demo reel for me, and that was great. Probably need to update it, because that was now 10 years ago, but I mean, it still shows the basics. Alright, white wrap. Attach. Thread on back. Just because we can, we're going to go in the optic mold again to kind of give that wrap a little texture on top of our first texture. Texture. I have yet to see a piece of glass with too much texture. I don't think you can do that. I think more is always more.
all do that. If you put a thin enough wrap on an optic mold type thing and you get it hot, you can burn away what's over the ridges and end up with little dots of an urchin. I don't know if you've seen that technique, but it's fun. I don't know if it has a name. I just call it the urchin wrap. Hello. Stuck in this straight rope. That has never happened. If you hang out in any other glass groups, either on Discord or Twitch or wherever, let them know that I'm just getting started over here. I'll probably be streaming most Mondays and Tuesdays, because that's when we do our production stuff. And maybe eventually I'll stream some of our classes and workshops, but that gets problematic because, you know, you're going to have visitors who don't want to be on camera, certainly not broadcast live. So I might try to do like a wide shot for that type of thing, with no audio, just a little background, something to have on. But yeah, this kind of up close type of thing I want to do basically whenever I'm doing our production work, because why not? I don't have any secrets. If there's one thing I hate, is when glass blowers think they have secrets. There's like, first of all, no you don't. You learn from somebody, and you should be teaching other people the same way you were taught. And if you do come up with something new, share it so it doesn't die with you. Like, let's not be hermits. This stuff needs to outlive us. At least I think so. Smoothing out our gather, hitting the marber, popping our bubble. Home stretch. I'm sure you're used to the setup part, the color and the build up just taking so long, and then the last few moves bring it all together. That's gotta ring a bell. Paper on that to get an even skin, nice round shell. Gotta be careful with the paper when there's white on the surface. It's a little extra grabby compared to most other colors and textures because it's an enamel, not an actual glass. And it wasn't until recently that I learned that there's an actual distinction between those two things, and I can't remember chemically what it is, but they are different. Blow hose. What part of Canada are you in? It's cold as hell up there now. Hope you don't have to dig your car out of the snow every day, but that might be a reality. Down my jacks. Don't do that. I'm not going to reduce it because we got white on the surface, and white in furnace work at least always reduces brown, so we're not going to even try that. Drop this too hot. We don't want to get our fracks fused onto the bottom. Pretty one. Looks like the ocean. Got some white caps on there. Alrighty. That was a productive day. When we're going for numbers on those floats, I don't take the time to do shards and recycling and to melt things in because it just takes too long. So we'll do a hit in the frit, a gather over, blow it out. I'll usually have an assistant helping me so that we can have one pipe that's kind of starting to gather, starting to color, another pipe that's finishing up the bubble and knocking off to put the pad on.
And when you're up at full production speed, you can do, I don't know, one of those maybe every 6 to 7 minutes, so pretty quick. But when I want to, recycle the shards, that's going to take longer because you got to melt in the cold glass and get it all homogenized. And it takes a little bit longer, but I do like reusing those shards, so I think it's worth it. Well, I'm going to start to shut down the shop. So glad you could stop by and have a chat with me. That was awesome. Made the time go by much quicker. I hope to see you next time. I'm going to leave the stream running while I kind of button things up here, so if there's anything else you want to talk about, just hit me in the chat. Turn off the glory first. Run our annealer program. These annealer controllers I have are pretty nice. They are Wi-Fi connected, so I can check on the current cycle from home. I can't give it instructions from home, unfortunately. I can't step it or turn it on. That would be really handy some days. But if something errors, if there's a power outage or if it starts to drop, I can check in on it and see what's going on. Unfortunately, I'm only 7 to 10 minutes away from the shop, so if there's an issue, I can get here pretty quick and take care of it. Not sure if you stepped away, but if you're still in the chat, hit me with your Instagram so I can see what type of work you do. Might be the same handle. I'll try that first, but if it's different, let me know. Tilt you over so we can see the furnace because I'm about to charge it. Let's see if we can get over that far. There we go. There's my messy shop. Stay. I gotta get a better phone mount. Good. So we get nuggets in the studio. I don't melt batch. We melt already made cullet, and so we'll just fill up a chute of this and chuck it in the furnace, along with some other recycled glass. Sometimes we got our clear cullet bin with the knockoff from the pipes. It goes in. Right now, I don't have enough of that to throw in, so we're going to do a straight to the bag bag.
picked up another viewer. Well, unfortunately, your timing for today is just a little bit off because we just started to turn off the equipment. But if you have any questions about glass or glass blowing, I'd be happy to answer them. I have a few more things to shut off before we're out of here for the day. But hit me in the chat if you got anything to ask about glass. I'm going to try to stream most Mondays and Tuesdays. It gets eerie in here after I've turned off the glory and the fans because I'm not sure what the background noise is right now on that mic, but just to show you the difference, I'll fire up the glory again for a second. And this thing really makes some noise. So it's not like loud, but it is a whole bunch of white noise. It's just constant. So that's why I need to get a separate mic and probably some more cameras. We'll work on that. All right. Today we were making some of these 6-inch floats. Put about 3 or 4 of those away. I don't remember that. I think we did 3. Different colors and different textures, but that's what we were making today. And then some stars. Here's what the stars look like. These were made a couple days ago. The ones we made today are still cooling down. They're still over 1,000 degrees about. And some of the stars we make have a little loop for hanging, and then most of them just are meant to sit flat on a table like a paperweight. So those are the type of stars that we make here. Set up our tools for tomorrow. We want the bench to look quasi nice. It's never perfect, but when possible, we want to line up our tools with the tips off the edge because we keep the jacks waxed. So we have some beeswax right underneath the camera right here. And as the wax kind of comes off the jacks onto our table surface, it can get on the other tools. And if the tips of your shears or of your tweezers get waxy, when you try to go grab the glass, they just slide off and you can't grip or cut anything. So that's why we keep the tips of our tweezers and our shears off the end here so that they don't touch any of the wax. Flatten out our paper so it can dry. We don't want a moldy paper. Ask me how I know. Put our ornament tweezers back on our knockoff table. Y'all, that'll be about it for the day. I'm going to stop the stream, but I hope to see you soon. Might try to stream again tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, certainly next week. Please follow. And this is the second stream I've ever done, so we're looking to improve from here. Let me know if you have any suggestions. Thanks.